Hello, my name is Gramps, and you might have seen, if you were at my stream yesterday, that I was doing a Huntress win streak. Now, the footage you are watching is not part of my Huntress win streak, it was a playtest of the build. I wanted to see how it operated in the wild, and maybe if I need to make any adjustments, and I came to the conclusion that this build will be satisfactory for the Huntress win streak. So, uh, I suppose I'll answer some questions. Why am I doing a Huntress win streak? Because I like playing Huntress quite a lot, and I want to see how far you can push the killer in a public setting to see just really how much you can get out of Huntress if you're trying to win over and over again and consistently. Next thing, why this build? So I'm going to go over the build very quickly, and I'm going to go over the basic strategy of the win streak. So, Corrupt Intervention will block the generators. Deadlock, when a gen is completed, will block another gen for about 40 seconds. Eruption will render a survivor incapacitated if they are working on a gen when the eruption proc comes, and it will regress 10% of the generator. And Call of Brian will apply Ruin effect on the generator whenever I kick it. So, the reason I think this build is good is because Huntress is a very slow killer, a methodical, territory-based killer who doesn't want to really move around the map a lot, so I want to hold tight like 3 gens, 4 gens, 5 gens if they occur. And I think this build is really good for doing that. Number 1, Corrupt allows early pressure to be mitigated somewhat through the blocking of 3 gens in the beginning of the game. Deadlock allows for extended camps and general slowdown by blocking one of the most progressed generators. Call of Brian is simply an amazing regression perk that allows you to have greater control over your 3 gen or 4 gen by, slowing down the game. And Eruption is pretty much for the same reason as Call of Brian, as well as making it so that, since this is a pub game and not competitive, they probably will not be calling out Eruption. So if survivors are rendered incapacitated, that's way more time on generators that they lose, plus minus 10% regression is pretty good. Now, I've fielded some complaints about the build, like why are you running Eruption and Call of Brian on, Hunters, because it's like you don't really kick gens. But I think you really do kick gens if you are not, if you're playing in this manner, in this strategy, where my strategy is to ignore basically the gens that are outliers and that are on the far sides of the map that I cannot reach. Those gens you basically don't want to interact with, right? Those gens, like, you can defend them from afar a little bit, but you don't want to have too much of a effort with them because they're not in your 3 gen or your 4 gen. They're not in your territory. I'm gonna be trying to play it kind of like a hag, you know? Now, some possible alternatives to this build are Corrupt Intervention, Call of Brian, Deadlock, and then Brutal Strength. Basically, you can replace the Eruption with Brutal Strength, because I believe the Eruption is the weakest part of this build. I don't think it's weak by any means, but it's the weakest perk of the build. You can replace it for Brutal Strength for increased strength in chase, or you could replace it for Agitation for greater control of the map, because when you get a hook, you want to hook them in your territory, and on a good hook so that you can camp them properly while maintaining generator pressure. So Agitation is an excellent perk for that. So one of the alternatives for Eruption could be Agitation, the other one could be Brutal Strength. You could also, if you are feeling confident, replace Corrupt Intervention while keeping the Eruption perk, and you can replace Corrupt Intervention with Brutal and or Agitation. No, I do not think Barbecue is good. No, I do not think Bitter Murmur is good. No, I do not think Iron Maiden is good. Nor do I think Shadowborn is good. You'll notice I'm running Babushka Oaken Haft. The reason being is that I feel this win streak would become much too easy with the addition of Eerie Head. Even though Eerie Head only allows you to have 1 hatchet, Eerie Head Babushka is simply too strong, in my opinion, to be fair to survivors. And you might be saying, oh, this build's not fair. Well, in pubs, it's certainly most difficult for survivors to do, but they can still out a Huntress with this build and these add-ons. Huntress is not a particularly good killer overall. In chase, she seems like a very oppressive killer if played correctly, but her lack of map pressure and, you know, map traversal really makes her quite weak overall, in my opinion. Especially since she's so map dependent. You could say she's quite a bit less weak on something like Wrecker's Yard or Cold Tower, but on something like Grim Pantry, Gideon Meat, or not even Gideon Meat Plant, Fractured Cowshed, Disturbed Ward, she's not nearly as strong because those maps are so much bigger and are so much harder to down survivors on. Is there anything else I want to add? I plan on making more Huntress analysis content. My next development of that is hopefully a game that Ralph played and lost versus some of my friends who are very good survivors. And they played pretty well, and Ralph lost to them. So I would like to do an analysis on that gameplay and see why he lost and what he could have done better. It's on even then, it's not necessarily his fault for losing, because if I remember correctly, he had quite a chill build on, so he might not have even had all the tools to win. But regardless, I think there's probably a lot of benefit that can be had from analyzing that gameplay. So, yes, that's pretty much it. I will be starting a Huntress win streak. I will be streaming almost every day of the week. I say almost because there are certainly a few days where I will not be streaming. But I will try and stream as often as possible. I will be streaming exclusively the win streak. And the win streak rules, I've decided that Eerie Head is not allowed. A win is classified as a 4K or a 3K with hatch or gates. And a loss, now this is the important part, a loss is if a survivor exits through the gates after completing all 5 generators. So if they complete all 5 generators and exits through hatch, then I will not count it as a loss because I deem it too RNG and quite unfair. But if a survivor completes all 5 generators and escapes through the gates, I think that's pretty fair of me to count that as a loss. I think that'll be all. Oh, actually, no, that won't be all. On Monday, Monday, October, let me check. Let's see. On the 24th of October, I will be doing a collaboration on Star DBD stream. I'm going to be doing like killer tutoring, I think. I'm not quite privy to all the details yet because I don't know quite what she wants to do. But I'll be doing like killer tutoring on various killers. I assume mostly Huntress because that's, you know, the specialty. But yeah, so if you want to check that out, you can find Star at twitch.tv/stardbd. The link will come up on the screen right now. I stream at GrampsTF2. That is to say, twitch.tv/GrampsTF2. And I hope you guys are excited about this win streak as I am, because there are a lot of things coming on the way, and I'm really excited to be doing them. And, you know, it feels pretty good to be back in this game again. Last thing, League of Legends content will not stop. I will also try and produce some more League of Legends content. But I will primarily be putting my effort into Dead by Daylight. So I'd say 70 to 30 in the split of Dead by Daylight to League of Legends content. Alright, I think that'll be all. Thank you for watching, and have a good day.